Morning. Good morning. Um, this is the morning show with H2O and Dr. Butterfly, the relationship specialist. Thanks to everybody who came out last night, and we got a little practice in for the ISDC and for the world's largest prelims. So thanks for everybody who came out and did that. And I feel like it was a good practice because I just feel like, well, I know it's Jack and Jill, and so I feel like, hey, I needed that practice. I feel like I needed that.
Yeah, for real, we did.
And it was some feedback. We had a feedback lady in there. She was giving some feedback, and that was cool feedback. So that was cool. So it's a good idea to really prepare for the contest, that you come out in front of some people and get you a 2.5 minute song and get out there and see what you're gonna do. Because at ISDC you don't get to choose your song.
You don't?
Nope. And I think that the prelims, the way it happens is two people choose a song, but I heard that it changes all the time. So two people each person get to pick one song. That's what I think usually. I mean, not the prelims, at the contest, the real contest. That's what happens. Is both couples get to pick a song, and then that's what they play.
All right. This morning we're gonna have Ebony D, DJ Ebony D, on with us this morning. He'll be the prelims DJ with the music, and we're gonna talk about some of his musical journeys that he's on. He should be joining us any moment. And
You can talk about our second Sunday, which is coming up in 4 days. We need to.
Absolutely. Second Sunday is going to be this Sunday, and that is April 12th. You can prepay on our link. It will be $10 in advance, $15 at the door. You just come on to you can prepay. I will put the link out again, and so that's going to be something that you want to check out. Don't miss it. It's going to be good. We're going to go over a 16 over category plus walking. Doing Sunday. So you'll see how it is. You have the real environment of being in a competition, and you better shake some of the cobwebs off or get some of the nerves in check while you're doing your competition. Right. You have DJ Ebony D.
What up, David? DJ Ebony D.
Yeah, doing.
Good. How you doing this morning?
Good morning to you.
It's early or what? Or you
Early
already?
for me.
Huh?
It's early for me. I work nights, so it's a struggle getting up.
Yeah, it's early for me, even though I already be up in the morning. But I started working at, I don't know, it seems like next week I started working at 10 instead of 9. So I don't know. Yeah, that's early for me because I'm trying to get a little exercise in the mornings.
Oh, okay.
Trying to get back in shape. I can't just stay slim like David. David just stays slim.
I put on about 10 pounds though. I went to I take my checkup, and I went to the doctor said, you put on about 10 pounds. I've been doing a lot of eating.
Oh, really?
You been doing a lot of eating, only gained 10 pounds, man.
Yeah, I'll never be big like Shonette said. I got my metabolism too high. I'll never be big.
Yeah. See, y'all men got an advantage. Women go through stuff like menopause and all that kind of stuff that make you gain weight. So I don't know. I might be going through that. I don't even know if I am or not. But I know I gained some weight. So I got to blame it on that.
All right,
the options are different. You're right. Yeah.
Right, but the thing is, I ain't got nothing against gay people, but I wish the men who want to be gay, I wish they really could get everything.
Your period.
Get a period, get menopause, premenopause, get pregnant, everything. I wish they could do it all since they want to do it.
do something else.
Look like David left.
Did it fall off? Oh no.
It fell off some kind of way. Oh, okay.
My bad.
Hey,
I hit
okay, David.
Yeah.
What's on your mind today?
Well, hold on. Let me give you a proper introduction.
Oh, okay.
Let me give you a proper introduction. This is David Ebony, one of the hottest. He's making his way to be one of the hottest DJs in the country. If y'all know him, he's probably one of the hottest in the Texas area right now. He's had a gig almost every day if you wanted one, I'm thinking. But yeah, man, hey, welcome, man.
Welcome, everybody. Good morning to y'all. Thank y'all for having me this morning.
When we get started, can you tell me about some of your musical journeys and your just your relevance in the DJ world right now? Every time I look up, you have a flyer out. You're here. You're there. You're doing it. Can you talk about some of that?
Yeah, because last time I was here with you all, I didn't really get into how I got started in music. Music is my career. Now, what a lot of people, like all of us, we all met through dancing, but my number one livelihood is music. That's it. Music is my life. It's my love. It's what I made my career out of. I do other things, but primarily it's based around what I do with music. Now, I got started in music, everyone, around the age of 8 years old. I started playing drums when I was 8 years old. And, my dad owned it's kind of funny. My dad owned an auto body shop. And my father had all these, he would paint cars and, cars that come in accidents, he would fix them and stuff. So the idea with that was that my daddy had all these different type of paint cans laying around his shop. And had
Who said paint cans?
Paint. Like
yeah.
We had all these different type of paint cans, small, medium, large, and they all had a different sound to them.
Uh-huh.
So my father had these, they had these old radios with the little knobs on these old radios, transistor radios they used to have. And my father had the old transistor radio. When he would work, he'd turn the radio on. So we couldn't turn the channel. You had to keep on the channel that daddy had it on. You couldn't play your music. You got to listen to what they listen to. So so you have to use that, but I would get all these different cans and set them up like drums. And my father had these little sticks that you stir the paint with, these little sticks.
Yep.
Man, I would take those sticks and just every song that came on the radio, I'll just play along with that song, man.
You play along with it.
Man, like I was on stage with them, so
that's how having a father. That's one thing. Having a father in the first place. You have one. That's great.
Thank God my name was Lewis. I thank God for he passed in 2000, but he was my mentor. He was my manly example. He treated my mother well. He fought my mother. He never cheated on my mother. None of that stuff. I had a great father.
It seems like people don't have no understanding of the importance of having a man around. I mean, they just don't make that. A lot of people don't seem to make that important no more. But man, fathers is a major thing because you would have never done that. You'd been sitting up under your mama. I don't know what you would have done if you were sitting up under a woman all the time. You know what I'm saying?
That's my mother too. My mother was the disciplinarian. She the one was with discipline.
Give you the whooping.
Yeah, it was cool, but you didn't want to get on his back. But when he got you, he got you.
Right.
You remember when my mother whooped me so much, I got immune to it. I was like, man, these whoopings don't hurt no more. Guys, how much trouble I would get.
You said these whoopings don't hurt no more.
Mom would whoop you for anything. You couldn't.
Yeah.
I used to call my mother one time when I got grown. I used to call my mother one time because that's what she do. She tell you something one time,
and that's it.
After that, you get your butt tore up. It ain't like today.
My mom used to whoop people. Like today, people, my kids be so mad because I won't whoop my daughter. My grown kids, they be mad because I won't whoop my 16. I won't whoop my 16-year-old. I'd be like, she's 16.
In our day, we got it.
I know, but back then, I was putting butt up.
We had Big Mama back then.
Yeah.
So, even when you went to Big Mama house, you had to act the same way your Big Mama would get you. So we had that community, even the people next door. The people next door to our house, they had the right to whoop
Yeah,
You know,
no, it's real, huh? Back in the day, everybody could whoop you. If you was getting in trouble and they seen you, you could get a whooping. Yeah. We don't have that kind of community no more. But just women, just the importance of men. My brother was just talking about it yesterday. The importance of men being in the house, man, it's still important because yet it's still you was out there with your daddy watching a man and learning how to be as a man. That's a different kind of thing, and then and you still your career came from watching your dad. And so anyway, I just wish people would still the importance of having a man around.
Right.
So long story short, from that point, I got to the age of 12. Then I got interested in piano. So I had a best friend that lived up the street from me. He already was playing, and me and him we used to have these jam sessions. He had a set of drums like I said. By that time, I was good at drums at 12. So he would have these jam sessions at his house, and he had his little keyboard. We'd be out in the front yard. I would play the drums. He played the keyboard.
You had a real drum by then.
Oh yeah, I had a real drum set then. I was bad. By 12, I was good. So, but the thing about it, I started getting interested in piano. I would see him playing the chords and the notes, and I started getting because I didn't know it, but I started developing an ear for music. And he would show me how to play by ear. And he showed me a lot of stuff. Long story short, by the time I was like 12, 13, 12 and a half, 13, I was playing. I would practice every day because like we mentioned, our parents were strict. We couldn't do everything. We couldn't go everywhere. So that was like my outlet. That was something my mother allowed me to do because she know I loved it. That was an interest of mine. So she let me do it. So it just cultivated. By the time I was 15, 16, I was already teaching music about 15, 16. I was already teaching.
And you learned about ear.
Strictly by ear. No sheet music, no actional, no formal lessons, nothing like that. It's just ear pickup, just picked up by ear. I can play right here in my house. I can go get my keyboard and anything I hear come on TV or the radio or the internet, I can play it. Anything that come on, I can play it. So Herman, to your answer, just to get into the DJing part, of course, DJing was easy after that because when I was 16, I started DJing in school, these little school activities like these talent shows and stuff like that. I started DJing that, then I started DJing our little neighborhood parties. If y'all remember back in the day, I don't know if y'all did it for where y'all was at, but back in Chicago, we had what we call basement parties. So we would have these basement parties that would cost $0.25, a little blue light party in the basement.
He said it cost $0.25.
Yeah, it cost $0.25 to get in. And we go down in the basement. You couldn't be upstairs in the house part. You had to go down in the basement of the house, and they had you had the blue light on or the red light on, and you had the little DJ set up in the had little speakers with the turntables. He had turntables back. They had this easy stuff these kids do now with the controllers and the laptop. No, man, we had you develop your skills on them 1200s. You take them turntables. That's how I develop. You're a real DJ. That's how you develop your skill on them 1200s. The two turntables. And the two turntables with the vinyl records.
You do that too. The records.
How old were you when you had the two turntables?
I was about 17 when I got my turntable.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it was another cat.
Did you have a cassette, or you had the which ones did you have?
I didn't get the techniques at first. I think the ones I had was like, what was it, RCA or RCA or something like that. And they had the little, RCA, the white and red hookups where you hook it up into the mixer. And then you run it up to the mixer, then you run the mixer to the amp, because back then they didn't have power speaker, you had to run an amp. So you had to run it through the amp, and from the amp. So that's how you hooked it up, man. But that's how it was a cat. He died too. It was a cat. His name is Brian. We called him Brian, but his name is Brian Harrington. For all those that's listened to me back over in Chicago, they probably know Brian. But we called him Groove Master. So Groove Master, the one showed me the skills on how to work turntable. He was bad, man. I would do quarter parties with him, and I would sidekick him, like shadow him and stuff. And so he'd play a little bit, let me get over there, and I would do it. Then I cultivated that talent. And then by the time I was maybe 21, I became a club DJ back in the day, back in the clubs and stuff. And then I had another mentor. I got to mention this brother's name. His name was Tex Campbell. His name was Cleophas Campbell, but we called him Tex. And he always used to wear those cowboy hats and stuff. But he the one showed me how to be a DJ, y'all. He showed me the who, how how, where, when, why, how, what to play, how to play, when to play it, how to read crowds. He the one taught me to do what I do, what y'all see me do today. He the one taught me how to do that. And he was an old school cat, old school DJ. And I was young buck, wet behind the ears, like 21 years old, just coming to the club scene. But he taught me how to DJ parties. He the one taught me that. So, and I owe everything I know about music, about DJing, I owe to Tex Campbell. So, so that's how I got started in music. And then when I got into the dance world, I didn't get into the dance world till years later, till I got about my early 30s. But then, if y'all remember, back in the day when we first started going to clubs, the younger crowd and the older crowd could party together.
They still can.
No, not like back in the day. It wasn't no fighting. It wasn't no instance. Yeah. If a younger person, check this out. I'm 20, 21, 22 years old. I'm going to the club and you got those 40 and 50 years old that's already in there.
The first person about me.
In that respect, we talked about that respect earlier in the show. Yeah. We still had that respect for that older generation. So we weren't going to go into it because most of them knew our parents. So we're not going to go in there clowning. We didn't even have that mindset. We want to just go in there, have a good time. You see a little nice little young lady you like, and you be hollering at her, enjoy the music. That's what they used to slow. That's what they used to slow dance back then.
When they used to be slow grinding in the club.
I wish they could bring that back though, y'all, because that calmed a lot of stuff in the club. That people were trying. You was trying to get the hook up. That's what we was trying
to holler at women. That's what they was in there doing.
So we weren't thinking about fighting like that they do now. But if y'all remember, probably back, I would say around the early 2000s, that younger crowd and older crowd, that mixed.
People didn't have no gun. Look, people didn't have no gun. So that's what
y'all had, that you go through the gangster area, the gangster rap era, all that gangbanging era, that stuff started coming to the club. So I got out of it because I'm telling y'all why I got to tell you a quick story. There's a guy came in the club. I'm DJing at this nightclub. This guy comes in looking for this other cat. Some dude did something to him. He come in the club with a 9mm cock, looking for this dude. Everybody jumping, everybody dropping to the floor, running on tables and all, running to the bathroom. This dude like, where is so at? Cock, 9mm. Yeah, I said, that's it. I'm not doing this no more. Because it ain't worth my life. I love music, but it ain't worth my life. So that's when I stopped DJing in the club. But right before then, Herman, here come the real answer. Right before then, I start playing stepping music. I wasn't no stepper at the time, but I started getting more involved because I'm in Chicago. So I started getting more interested in stepping. So I started, because I seen that change come. Again, I was trained to read that.
When was this? How old were you then? When was this?
This was like 2000. This was like maybe 2002, 2003, up in there. So then, I started, in order to curb all that, we talked about that shift that was happening. So in order to do that, I stopped playing stepping music because it started bringing more of a calm in the room, right? The men dance with the women and that style. And I started liking it. I wasn't stepping at the time, but I started playing stepping sets after that. But I didn't know how to do the dance. So that's how I got into the stepping world. So in 2004 came along, I said, I'm gonna learn this. So Pete Frazier, I mentioned this before in the last show, Pete Frazier, he was my mentor. He wanted to taught me how to step. He taught me to dance, and he taught me the business side because I became a promoter after that. After I started stepping, and then I started competing. That was my heavy competing days back then, like 04, 05, 06. I was heavy competition dancer, man. I was winning all the time. I got trophies. I wish I could have brought some of my trophies out, but I'll do that next show. Next time, y'all, because I have to get them all together. Next time y'all interview me, I have all my trophies behind me and stuff, whatever. But I got one with you, Sade. My trophy with you is over there. So
did you win the world's largest?
What's that?
Did you win the world's largest?
I never got in the world's largest. No. Okay. There's a reason for that. I never got in the world's largest. No.
Well, this your year to get in there, but you DJing, so yeah, you can't get in there.
Yeah, I DJ'd a lot of. There's a lot of DJs that was in the world. It was up team DJs.
No, I said you DJing ours. I was say this is your chance to be in it.
Yeah. Well, I was DJ. Yeah, I would DJ some of the preliminaries back on when they used to have preliminaries and stuff. I would
Yeah.
DJ that. So that, and then I would definitely go to the competition. They had competitions all around. It wasn't just the world large. They had competitions all over Chicago.
Right.
These owners would do contests and stuff like that, like $600-700 contests and stuff like that. That was fun because that brought out people that you really probably wouldn't even knew how to step, and they be getting them contests and be killing it. So, but yeah, so then I started doing my own contests. I used to do a competition called the Grand Midwest. I still got the videos. I got to show you guys the video. I used to do it called the Grand Midwest Steppers Ball and Battle. I did that for 3 years. I did my own competition. Oh, shout out to Pete because he the one trained me how to do them. So then I started doing my own competition. I would get people like Phil Duncan, Kurt White, Lil Darren Ulmer, Tory. Everybody know Tory, fast foot Tory.
The boy or the girl Tory.
Pete. They have people all out of Milwaukee. Used to compete. People all out of Cleveland used to compete. I mean, in my contest, Ted Williams. Ted won one of my contests. He placed third in one of my contests. That's how I met Ted years ago. So yeah, I ran 3 of them myself. So I got the experience when it comes to competitions and knowing how to do them. Being from Chicago, it's kind of like you suck all that in. You see it all the time, and you can learn and stuff like that. So yeah.
All right. So man, so you've been doing this for a long while. So you said Tory was at the male Tory or the female Tory?
The female Tory.
Female Tory. Okay.
Yeah, Tory Jones didn't come till years later. He didn't come till like 2015 or something. Tory didn't come along till way back then, way after. But Tory, that's why I'm giving you the history because Tory, female Tory, she been around a long. Tory Williams, I think that's her last name. Okay. She been around a long time, man. She know her stuff, So she's a legend out here now. She's legendary. Absolutely. Yeah, she's legendary status.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So the stepping game back then compared to now, what are some of the differences that you notice?
The differences you say?
Right.
Well, obviously, the dance itself, because the dance evolved different back when I was coming up in it. They, even before I came up in it, they really didn't count. They just, the old school G's, and I know y'all heard this story from several of the people y'all done had on from Chicago. They just be out in the clubs, like at the East of the Rhine or down at 3G's or something like that. And they would just get out there, they just say, do this. Or they'd be in their basement practicing. They say, they just show you, do it like this, do it like this, do it like this. And you basically just copy what they did, And then after a while, then the 6 count came out. So 6 count stepping came up. So I learned on the 6. Pete taught me the 6 count, the old school 6. And then, because me personally, y'all, I'm more of a numbers person. I'm more analytics. That's how my mind works. So some people can learn without a count. Some people can't learn unless they have numbers or rhythm. Like I told you, I started as a musician. So I already had rhythm and my number system in my head. I had to have numbers to show me because that's where it was in music. Progressions, right? So so I had the count help me. So I learned on the 6 old school 6, then it went to the new school 6. And then eventually, of course, my man, shout out to LC Henderson, he created the 8 count back in 04. So that's when I really was coming along back in 04. That's when I really learned it in 04. And so then, as they say, the rest of it, but the difference between old school, new school, the old school, they just basically just showed you what to do. But then as the dance evolved and counting came out, pattern, structure, all that what we see today. And today, of course, is prominent now with how to teach the structure and all the technical points of stepping and things like that.
And hey, I personally want to thank you because most of the ladies in Houston, and probably most of the guys, I don't know about them, but most of the ladies in Houston learn from you.
Yeah,
we learned all our moves from you, like all of our basics from you.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. And I'm glad that y'all mentioned that because a lot of people don't. Not that I'm in it for any type of accolades or nothing. I'm not that type of person. But it's good to hear people say that about me because a lot of people don't know it. They be like, hey, who you learn from? They think because now people go to these workshops and learn from people Chalk and Drew and Dre Blackwell, you know, people they go to these workshops with these names and they think them the ones that taught. But no, you have to get your groundwork from somewhere. These guys ain't got time to do that because they traveling all the time.
Right.
So they don't have time to just sit down, and you may take a private or something from them, but they don't work with you. You know, they don't do the groundwork with you.
Right.
Like
the
your
foundation.
local instructor. And I'm gonna say this to everybody around the country. Support your local instructor. Support your local instructor. Because when these other, and no shade on these instructors I'm talking about, but when they come to your city, they come to your city for 2 or 3 hours and then they gone.
Right.
You don't see them no more.
Your local everything. Support your local stuff first. Your local parties, because
they're the ones that do the blood, sweat, and tears with you.
Right.
So,
because it's nice to go out and travel, but you better support your own city.
Gotta support your own city. So I tell all these dancers that's coming in the game now, you know, don't just run to these instructors because they got a big name. No, the ones that work with you on a weekly and sometimes a daily basis, if you're taking privates from them, or if you're going to their events and stuff like that, them the ones you need to pay your homage to, is the ones that brought you in, that made you the stepper that you are. Everything you get after that is just gravy. That's what I call it. It's gravy. You know, you get the meat and the potatoes from your local instructor. You get the gravy from these other ones that you these workshops.
Right, and you can't even get the gravy unless you get the meat, because if you don't have your foundation, you ain't gonna understand the rest of it anyway. You're just doing something.
Say that loud for the people in the back.
Yeah.
Say that one for the people in the back.
You're doing something wrong, really, because you don't have your foundation. You just out there confusing yourself.
Yeah, you were the first step-in workshop or class that I went to way back in the day. I went to yours, and then you're the first one I went to, and then I started going to some other local instructors back in the DFW. But I had one of yours. It was like one of the first ones I went to. I was like, okay, this is interesting. Then I went to the local dance, got a lot of the local dancing in, and then after I mastered that one, then I come back to Chicago. I came back to Chicago and got in competitions, and so you're one of the first ones that was actually out, and that was like actually okay. Let me learn from this dude. What is he doing? So you're like one of the first guys, and then like you said, you really need to know your basics before you go to those other instructors, because you'll pay them X amount of dollars, and they're not gonna break it down. You're gonna have to already know your basic foundation. Somebody that's going week after week after week, or a couple of days a week. And then once you get that locked in, then I'll say, yeah, absolutely. Now, if that instructor's in your town and they're teaching like that, absolutely go to them. But I wouldn't fly to Chicago to take a private and I don't know my basics. Not yet. I have to get my basic foundation under my feet first, and then I'll fly out, or when I'm in another town, to learn basics from a high power or a master instructor.
Go ahead, Shania. Go ahead.
You go ahead, because I was gonna say that yesterday. What Chicago was talking about. Corey was talking about you gotta go to Chicago, which I agree. But and somebody asked, why do you gotta go to Chicago if you're a stepper? Why do you have to go to Chicago? Because he said you gotta go to Chicago if you're a stepper. Why do you feel like?
So, y'all seen that movie Malcolm X? If y'all seen that movie with Denzel Washington, Malcolm X,
right?
And that movie Malcolm X, and Malcolm X was in the Muslim religion. Uh-huh. Well, all he knew about the Muslim religion, and he had the wrong perception because he was just in America under Elijah Muhammad. So he was only in America. He never got the full aura of it until he went to Mecca, what they call went to the Mecca. When he went to the Mecca, now he understood. It like blew his mind because he didn't know it was that broad when it came to Islam, right? So that's why we say you got to go to the Mecca if you're in stepping. If you say like we here in Texas, well, you learned in Texas, but eventually you need to go to the Mecca, which is Chicago, because the dance is called Chicago stepping. Yeah. What's called Chicago stepping for a reason. That's what originated at. So that's why in the stepper world we call Chicago the Mecca. You got to go to the Mecca to get the full aura of what Chicago. You're gonna see the dress. You're gonna see the atmosphere. You're gonna see the attitude. You're gonna see the best of the best. Yes, in Chicago. There's people in Chicago that don't even compete, and they cold. I'm talking about ice cold. So that's why you need to go to the 50. You need to go to the east of the Rhine. You need to go to 3G. You know, you need to go to Mary Evans. You need to go to Tinley Park. When Heroes was open, you need to go to those spots. Dayton game on the west side where I come from. You need to go to those spots, and then you go see the better, and you'll go get the aura. That's what's going to really make you better and things like that. It's going to resonate with you more when you go to Chicago. So that's why we always say, hey, at least once in your life, you know, in your dance life, in your stepping life, if you learned in another cities, what I'm talking about. If you learned outside Chicago, if you learned outside Chicago, take a trip to the Meccas at least one time in your stepping life.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, it is.
I think Herman had a question.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right, man. So you said, I like that analogy that you put on with going to the Mecca, like in the Malcolm X movie. He didn't know white people were Muslims as well. He thought it was all African American people.
Yeah.
When he went there, he realized it was all races there. And absolutely, just like if you are a Houston two-stepper, you want to go to the Houston two-step. If you're a DFW swing outer, you want to go to that Mecca, which is in Dallas.
And that is different. When you go to Dallas and you swing out, that is different. You can tell, like, oh, okay. Like, there's so many swing out people there.
That's from what I hear. Yeah, because when I'm here, they do swing out in Florida now. You know, like Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah.
They do swing out down there. So, but the guy that brought it there, old boy they speak in Houston, his name will come to me. He's cut hair. But he was one of the prominent swing out instructors in Houston. Maybe somebody that's listening, maybe give me his name. I can't think his name right now. But he took swing out to Florida. But like you said, okay, so there's people down in Florida learning, but eventually they need to come to Dallas.
Last time I went to Dallas, I said that. I said, if you swing out, you must come to Dallas.
Yeah, you got to come to DF. It's called DFW Swing Out for a reason. So you got to come to DFW, Dallas Fort area.
They got a bunch of controversy about that.
Yeah. Right. I gotta get old boy's name though. This name is messed with me. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Liddell Headroll.
Yeah. I thought he went to Atlanta.
Yeah, he's in Atlanta, but he took, he's in Atlanta, but he took stepping down. You know, they right next door to Florida. So he's doing classes in Gainesville and Tallahassee and all down through there.
Yeah. I used to take classes from Liddell's people. He had 3 people that was giving the class. That one girl who passed away.
Liddell Band with that swing out boy. He had me showcased years ago when I first came to Texas. He had me do a Chicago Step and Showcase at one of these events in Houston. He's a real cool dude. So,
what's some tips you could give us for this prelims to make sure that it's super lit? You know, we want to make sure that we have a really great party. What's some tips?
Prelims. Yeah, in Houston. Shout out to Dance Entertainment for doing the world's largest prelims in Houston. We needed somebody to take that torch. My girl Sean Hayden used to do it, and nobody did it since her. And
I remember I went to Sean Hayden's when I first came to Stepping. That's when it was still here, and I went that year, and I think that was the last year. And I didn't even know what it was about.
Shout out to her. I work with her. Everyone she had me on her lineup because she's a sweet. People understand your talent and see your experience and stuff. She's like, David, I need you on this because you got the experience. And I meant to tell y'all that, but I'm saying it openly now. Sean Hayden always had me on her itinerary because she knew I had the experience. Sean been knowing me a while. So she knew I had the experience. Nobody in Houston at that time really had the experience of doing world's largest. So she would get her mentorship from Pete. But as far as doing everything else, Pete couldn't do everything. Pete couldn't DJ and Pete couldn't be teaching. Right. So that's why she got instructors out of Chicago, Sean Bandy and all. She brought all them down here. And then she always will get me to DJ. And so shout out to Sean. But you guys, shout out to y'all for taking the torch on this. And my man Snoop that's taking over now for the world's largest. The tips that I would give for that from a dancer standpoint, I heard Benita Gardner was on your. She did an excellent job explaining about how you prepare for that. She did a wonderful. I'll sit there and listen to it. She did a wonderful explanation on that because, of course, she won in the world's largest, so she competed several times. But the thing is, if you want to compete, especially on that level, you have to put the work in. You have to put in the work. You just can't just jump out on that stage and feel you just gonna dance. No, you got to prepare. You got to get. I will tell dancers, don't worry. And this is what me and Sade used to do. At first, when I first started competing, I used to try to do routine. But when you get out there on that stage, all that energy, the lights are on you. You got the whole crowd, everybody's eyes on you, man. You'll forget that routine.
Absolutely.
So my thing is, get you an array of moves. Get you a bag. Get your bag. Get you a lot of moves. Put it in that bag. Take the bag with you. They're going to hit when the time comes, because when that music hit and the flow between the chemistry, and she talked about chemistry, which is very important. Get you a partner that you got good chemistry with. Get you somebody got good chemistry. Put the work in. Get some moves, but don't do a routine. So those moves will come when they're supposed to come. When that music hits certain elements of the music, the crowd, the energy from the crowd, it'll make you do certain moves. You already got those moves, so they'll come. But if you try to do X, Y, and Z, we're gonna do it 1, 2, 3 like that. It is not gonna work.
Right. As soon as you get off, you done forgot what's going on.
Right.
You forgot. Just get out there and dance. Half of those moves are coming. Just I tell people, zone that out and just dance with your partner, just you and him or you and her, and just act like you're at the stepper set, and it's gonna come. So everybody that you see that win or place in the world's largest, that's the way they dance. They dance it as if they out dancing for fun. Then they move, they groove. See, that's the thing, that groove is gonna come. Yeah.
Prepare though. What about mentorship? You feel like people should have mentorship when they?
Yes. Mentorship is important. I always advise people to get under somebody with experience, somebody that your name ain't got to be big. It ain't about name. It's about getting on somebody that has experience and got the know-how about Chicago step. Okay, so get under somebody that's experienced. It's good if you get under somebody that done 1, 2, 3 contests, because they know the route to get there. But like I said, we talk about your local instructor. Get with somebody that been there. It's just like when we growing up with our parents and stuff. They've been there. That's why they are best teachers, because they've been down the road we trying to go. So it's the same thing. Get with an experienced stepper, experienced dancer. They don't have to be an instructor. It could be just a regular, everyday old experienced dancer. You can learn a lot from them. So get under somebody that's bona fide, that know their stuff, and that way they can pour into you. That way it'll make your dance that much better. Yeah, that's very important. I was mentored by several guys. I had it good because I grew up in Chicago. Area, so I had it good. I had so many people that I learned from. I mean, legends I'm talking about. So
yeah, you could just go down the street and get in the basement.
Walk outside your door. Yeah, walk outside your door and go to the nearest lounge or steppers party. You got it right there. But if you're out here, like maybe Houston, Dallas, any Atlanta, find somebody, and it's good to travel and go to some of these big stepping events, weekend events where some of these prominent instructors are. Well, nothing wrong with they go there and then get under one of them wing, like a Drew or like
they talk about that lady. I can't think of what they talking about. What's that lady name they keep talking about? I think she's from the Carolinas somewhere. That other lady who was on here too said her name, but I can't remember what her name is. But it's some lady that people keep on talking about. I think she's from down. She's from just somewhere down south. The other lady who was gave me a private when we were just in Virginia. She told me her name too, but I forgot who she is.
Okay.
Not a private on the lead side. I'll be trying to do some really lightweight leading, only because really when we have class, I try to show them like the very basic just to get out there. We had some people last night, some guys, very basic, and then I'll be like, hey, you got to go to the instructors, but just show up something just to get them on the floor. They talked about that too. They said, well, I want the men. Okay, the classes are always full with women. What is the problem with the men getting the men on the dance floor in the Black community? Because I'm gonna say it ain't everybody. In the salsa community, there's actually more men than women. But in the Black community, what do you think is the problem with that? We were talking about that yesterday.
Ooh, man, don't get me started on that. Because I done tried for years and years every method I could to try to get men to come to class. But I figured it out some years back, and Herman probably could attest to this. Men are egotistical. Let me just say that.
Yeah, I put
Men,
that
we
on
have
as the answer.
egos. We have egos. The ladies got to understand that. We have ego. Not that the man don't want to learn it, okay? But some men, I ain't saying all men, because there are men in the dance floor, so we can't say all of them. But
Right.
some men have a problem learning from a man or a woman in that fashion. Let me say it again. They
Yeah.
have a problem learning from whether it be man or woman when you're trying to learn something that requires discipline.
Right.
If you're learning dancing, it requires discipline. We got counts, you got structure, you have technicality, you got you got to learn interaction. Most guys don't want to deal with that because of their ego. They don't want to be told what to do. Because some men are headstrong. Some guys so headstrong, you can't tell them nothing. Okay.
Right.
Women don't have that problem because why? And y'all covered this many times when y'all talk about the relationship part of y'all show. God did not put that in the women. God put it in the women to receive. Women don't have no problem. I met very little women that have a problem with learning from anybody, man or woman, because they have that desire to learn. They have that desire to take in. That's the woman's nature, is to receive. So women don't have that problem. Men do, especially when it comes to something like this, step and swing out, ballroom or whatever. Men have that egotistical problem where anything that requires that type of discipline, they don't want to do. They're trying, but when they get into it and they find out what it takes, they just drop out. You know. So the makeup of men are different. Not saying now there are some men like myself, like Herman and many others that don't. We had that. We did it because we had to get it. Men. It's something called fortitude. Y'all know that word. It's something called fortitude. You have to have an intestinal fortitude, means you have to have that want to do it. Men have to want to, just like anything, they want to learn how to be a mechanic. They want to learn how to be a doctor. They want to learn how to be a computer analyst. You have to have that want to. And it's the same thing with dancing. You have to have that want to when it comes to a man. Women don't have no problem at all. That's why the women outnumber us so bad. The desire is already there, is what I'm saying. So that's why it's kind of tedious to get a lot of men out sometimes.
Yeah, they were talking about that yesterday. I said my answer was ego. Number one, because what did you do? I mean, every man got an ego, but what, you just wanted it? Like
I wanted it.
Like, did
I
you have some
wanted it.
problems with I said microaggressions too. Some of the microaggressions in the community.
Look here, y'all. Back in 2003, 2004, when I first got in it, man, I would practice day. I would tell y'all that in classes. I would practice day and night. Man, I had a hunger for stepping. I would invite people to my house, to my basement. I would cook food. I would have drinks. Like I'm doing a little step set at my house. I was like, man, come on, let's practice. I was like you, Shana, when you first got there.
You already know how much I was dancing.
Let's get this work. Let's get this work. I want to get this. I'm watching videos. Pete, at the time, Pete was the hottest at the time. Pete Frazier was the hottest dancer at the time. If I said I was going to learn it, I want to learn it from the best. So I had his videos. I would go to these sets. I would come back home and practice. Man, I had hunger. I had that fortitude. I said, I'm going to get this because I'm the type of person anyway. I receive a challenge. And you'll challenge me. You know,
right.
So
I like challenge. I like to be challenged.
Yeah, I like to be challenged. So that worked out good for me, y'all. I'm trying to plug in my computer here. Go ahead. Yeah. So yeah, y'all. So that's the thing with me. I had the fortitude, and I see other guys. I'm trying to think. Some guys
you can
around.
see the eyes when they want it. The men.
You look at.
I'm sure
Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example in the Houston community. Y'all know Mark, right? In the group, the court, Mark Hope.
Yeah, you know Mark.
Mark Hope, when Mark Hope didn't know a lick of step. He didn't know nothing about step until he came to my class when I started doing class in Houston. But you know what really made Mark good? Mark came every class.
Yeah.
When I first started teaching in Houston at Saram Studio, he would come to every class, and that dude would take privates. Nobody knew about that. That man, he was married. He used to make his wife mad. He would take so many privates from me.
Yeah.
He would make her upset because he never was at the house. He was always taking privates and always at class. Then he started going out. He did that circle that we teach people. Practice, go to class, go out. That's what Mark did. Mark had that fortitude. That's why I shot him out every time I see him. I said, man, the reason why you so good today, you put the work in.
And he
But
is
he
good.
wanted it. That's why Mark is so good now. So yeah. I think Face of Houston made him like a mentor instructor or stuff like that in their group. So
yeah, I think so.
There you go. So
yeah. But so what about do you think like some of it is microaggressions? That's what I said. Because on the woman's side,
explain that to me, doctor. Explain that to me, doctor. Doctor, explain that to me.
Microaggressions is like ain't nobody directly saying nothing to you, but you could just feel a little animosity. Amongst, like when you come in the room, you just feel some animosity. Nobody's like directly saying, "Oh, I don't like you" or whatever, but you just feel some weird energy. That's what I said. I feel like a lot of guys don't want to do it because then sometimes it's actually rudeness. Sometimes people will actually say rude stuff to you. And like a woman, I think we could just blow it off sometimes. But I think some dudes don't want to do that. They don't blow off the rudeness because they probably be ready to tear the whole room up. And so they just don't come because they don't, they want to maybe get outside of themselves. I just seen it recently, and I just seen on somebody's page. I ain't even gonna say their name, but they said I was gonna say their name, but I'm not going to. But they said on their page, they said sometimes once you didn't have somebody in your class, they say 2 or 3 times, and they still don't know, they still don't have the basic cross. You got to be a little. They said be a little mean or be a little rude or something. I said no, these are grown people, and people agreed. People agreed, yeah, that's true. You might have to. No, they said you got to raise your voice. You might have to raise your voice. Like if a person then came to your class 3 or 4 times and they still don't know the simple cross basic, which for us it's a simple cross basic because we know it.
Right.
But for other people who don't know it, it's not really simple.
Right.
But they said you might have to raise your voice, and everybody went on there. People went on there saying, "Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true." And I'm like, that's never true. People are grown.
Right.
What are you doing raising your voice at an adult person? But that might be why a man don't go either. Because if I'm a man or a woman, really, don't raise your voice at me. But if I'm a man, surely, and you get to raise your voice at me, I'm not gonna want to go in front of people too.
Too many men gonna take that.
And that was an instructor who's been instructing for a long time said that, and people agree.
I will say this. And you're talking about in learning stages. If they don't have it yet, no, you got to be delicate.
And what is the learning stages?
You got to be delicate in that part. But my thing is, once you start learning it and you know some things, say like you've been in my class 5 or 6 months, and there are things that you struggling with at that particular, I'm gonna be a little bit more stern with you. I'm not gonna yell at you or nothing, but I'm gonna be stern. It's just like your kids. When your kids get about 14 and they talk about they can't make no bed up at 14, I'm like, boy, you 14 years. I taught you. I mean, you stern with them. You already know they know how to do it. But they know how to do it. So that will kind of frustrate you because I done taught you how to. You 14, I taught you years ago how to make a bed. Then you come 14, talk about you don't know how to make
5 months. They more in this.
But you're more stern. You're more stern with them. But if they 7, but stay with me now. If they 7 or 8, okay, you got to keep guiding them through that until they get it. But I done had students in my class they passed basics, and you still struggling with some basic stuff. No, I'm gonna be a little stern with you. You already know that. Come on, let's get past that.
Well, so this is one of the things though. So some classes have so when I was coming up in swing out, we had a newbie class and then we had an intermediate class. And the newbies, they could not pass. It don't matter how long you were in there until you conquered all of the basic steps, because if you don't conquer that, you will end up slowing the class down. So they would not move on until they conquered the basic steps. And sometimes people are in there for 6 months or so.
Right.
And sometimes, now I'll be 100% right with you. If they come every day and they were doing shenanigans in your class and disturbing the class, then that's something totally different. But sometimes people have slower learning.
They do.
People have slower learning disabilities and a lot of stuff like that. And so you have to look, you have to be able to, okay, this person is a much slower learner than this other person here.
Right.
So I can pull one of my people to the side and say, hey, go over the basics with them and just drill this into them until they're able to get the basic steps. And eventually, most people, if they're serious about dancing, they will go ahead and learn it in advance. But some people just
Then it take a long time.
and some people just come drunk. And if they just come drunk, you are thank you because you are contributing
to the bar.
to our
To
venue.
the bar.
Now, if it's a BYOB and they're doing, that's something totally different. But if they come into your venue, and they're paying at the bar, we need some of those people. But as long as they're not disturbing the class, they're sitting over there drinking or whatever, I kind of get that. So I mean, in my opinion, there's really not a real reason to be, aggressive with anybody unless they are disturbing.
And they're paying their own money. They grown and they paying their own money and they're not kids. My thing is another. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, the only thing that gets me irritated with like a student come in, if they come and they don't come for a long time, then I can understand the instructor getting irritated because like, okay, they come this today and then they don't come for another month, starting all over. Then they don't come for another month again. You're starting all over because they're not consistent. That's the only thing I can see as an instructor getting irritated about if people are not consistent. But if they're consistently coming and they just don't get it, just because you holler or get stern, they still ain't gonna get it.
Yeah, well, a couple things when it comes to that. You made the point that we have to realize this as instructors, we are dealing with grown individuals. Okay,
Yeah,
we can't them like they're children. They have mortgages, they have careers, they have children. They pay their money, so we can't treat them any less than that. So that's the first thing. We do have to realize we're dealing with grown, mature individuals. But at the same time, I wouldn't get, and this is why I gotta kind of do a little pushback on you on that, Sean, because I wouldn't get frustrated with a person that's not, they haven't been to a class. And well, we gotta realize something. Life happens. Okay, we gotta realize that. When it comes to teaching with Chicago stepping in of the dance, that's a choice that a person made. That's nothing that they have to. Right. That's a choice that they made to do this. So this is something they try to make a part of their life. They don't have to do it. It's just something that they choose.
Right, it's still a hobby at the end of the day.
And what I'm saying is, in between all of that, they may not come to class every week. Things may happen in their life. Things may happen in their kids' life. Things may happen in their job life. Things where they keep them from coming. I don't get upset about that. Not that part. The only thing that irritates me, and I just mentioned, and I try to keep that inside until I'm able to talk to that student one-on-one. If I've taught them over a length of time and they're not getting it, or if I know they can do it, and then they keep tripping up on something they already know, that's the only thing that irritates me because I know I taught you better and I know you know it because I've seen you do it. So that's what kind of gets to me. But what I don't do, Shade, I don't embarrass them. I don't embarrass them in class. I pull them to the side, or either I'll call them out the class over with, and then I'll talk to them. Or I say, hey, you need to take you another private to get this. Because I don't want you to start, like Herman said, I don't want you stumbling over the same thing over and over. You pay your money. You pay your money for nothing if you just keep stumbling over the same thing over and over and over. So let's take a private lesson. Let's get past this. That way you won't be holding the class. Yeah. So now let me talk about that issue about holding the class up. I'm putting that in air quotes, holding up the class. Sade, you're a doctor. Herman, you do what you gotta know what you do in your full career, but I know you deal with people. When you in a room full of people, if you're in a room full of people, and I say the same thing, I would say the same thing to everybody. You know what? Everybody gonna take it different. Ain't nobody gonna take it the same way.
Right. So
therefore, I may teach everybody the same exact thing. Do X, Y, and Z. This person gonna take it different than this person, this one, and so on down the line. So we got to remember everybody's thought process, learning curve is not the same. So we got to realize that we got to use that as instructors. That's why I tell instructors, you get into this thing, you got to have some people skills and you have to have some knowledge of behavior because everybody's not going to learn it the same way that you teach it. So you'll see the ones that's grasping it. Yeah, you're gonna see that. But those ones that may not be grasping it, okay, those are the ones you got to be more patient with. And like you said, Harmon, you got to be keen. You got to be, you got to read the room. Like I said, you got to know who's struggling, so that person won't be holding up the class. Because you're gonna have some people that's gonna pick it up, bam, bam, bam. Then you're gonna have some people that they ain't gonna get past the 3 count.
Yes.
So you got those people. You got to, and it's good to have an assistant. That's why it's good to have an assistant in your class.
You used to have Pinky.
Yeah, and then work with them. That way you can keep the rest of the class going. You know, because you know it'd be just like how we was when we was in school. You see that person that's learning slow, and man, they holding up the class. The teachers how they holding the class up. You know,
Right.
then you get that. You'll get that within the midst of the class, so you don't want that either. So that's why it's good to have an assistant instructor to help that person that's a little bit slow. That way, everybody's happy in that regard.
Yeah. So I was gonna say what Reggie said, that it was because sometimes what's gist of what he said is sometimes the ladies too, just like, you know, sometimes the ladies can be you know, not so nice to the guys when they come, rushing the guys, telling them they ain't doing it right, that kind of stuff, you know.
Which is wrong. They gotta realize they gotta realize they was beginners too. Come on, they can't have that attitude.
Yeah.
We all
room for people and then several not tell.
Yeah. And skip that stuff. You can't forget where you came from.
Yeah,
we always was beginners at one time. So
right.
we can't
Ron Brown has said and I'm just talking fast now because our time is going to be up. But Ron Brown has said sometimes he'll have guys in class and then they'll kind of disappear because they'll go out to party. And then when they go out to party, people are always telling you stuff like, oh, this person ain't teaching you right, and this person ain't teaching you right. You know, all that kind of stuff. And then that sends guys away, which
that's the dark side.
Always doing that.
Unfortunately, that's the dark side of dance. I hate that. I hate when people do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, just teach what you're teaching. What did you tell somebody ain't teaching them right? You know, people got different teaching styles. That don't mean it's wrong. People pick up a little bit from this instructor, that instructor. Pick whatever they need up from each different instructors. Don't mean one of them is wrong. It just means that, you know, that is just how they talk. But then people go waste people's time. Oh, well, they didn't teach you right. Okay, then they just confused, and then they don't want to do it no more. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's another. That is a real one too.
Yeah, that's a real one. That's a dark side, like you said. That is a dark side.
Our timing is up there. Can you go ahead and pray?
What's next for you? Can you give us a quick thing? What's next for you?
Outside of what I normally do in my job, as far as with the dance community, what's the day? My next event is with Jerry Palmer, Art in Motion, April 25th. They have their April Dance Social. I'm their DJ. That's Saturday, April the 25th. That's my next dancing endeavor. Then the very next day on the 26th is my fourth Sunday day party. I just started that. Already done started out good, y'all. So if y'all up here in Dallas, the fourth weekend, it's dancing all weekend. And I'm involved in both of those dances. April 25th with Art of Motion. And then April 26th is my DBJ Productions Day, fourth Sunday day party. I just started that. And I have a slot where I'm not competing with nobody. So I had a real good turnout last month. So I'm looking for another this month. So that's what I have coming up.
All right.
It's what day is it?
Fourth Sunday.
April the 25th, which is the fourth Saturday, and April the 26th, which is the fourth Sunday. Both of those days.
All right.
Oh, no, I take that back. Herman. This Sunday, Odyssey to open back up. So this Sunday, I'll be DJing at Odyssey this Sunday.
Odyssey this Sunday?
This
All
Sunday
right,
is our
Sunday night.
This Sunday is our second Sunday in Houston.
Yeah, but I'm up here. I'll be
You'll be in Dallas. So, all right, but everybody come out to our second Sunday, this Sunday. And David, man, you're a true warrior, man, in this game, man. You're a true DJ. Thank you for all the help and everything that you've done for us, man. I'll always leave with a prayer. Lord, please give everybody everything they need in this life, today, tomorrow, and forevermore. Amen. Love y'all. Thanks for tuning in. See y'all soon.
See you soon.
Peace.
All right, thank you.